Welcome back to Illiana Stock Car Radio.
Look at you. You're getting so good at that intro.
I've done it about 4 times now.
You skipped the first one.
Okay, I've done it 3 times now. 2 times.
Anyway, you're getting better.
For round 3 of our promoters roundtable, as we discuss the Grundy County Speedway over in Morris, Illinois, off of Route 47 with their promoter, Steve Bechtel.
You didn't say it. You didn't say it right. And Morris.
I'm not Big Daddy. We'll see him.
Spoilers.
Next week. But we get to hang out and talk with Steve Bechtel tonight on his record-setting 13th appearance on the podcast, according to your records.
According to my math, which hopefully we're missing a couple episodes in our archives because that was during where we were doing Facebook Live and apparently it didn't save the video. So there's some lost media out there. If you have recordings of us being idiots.
I don't know if I'm at 13 yet, even with all my disappearances. But anyway,
yeah.
Last weekend we got to the racetrack. And
we
took
did,
some
and
pictures.
so it was interesting because it was kind of a roller coaster there being at the racetrack over the weekend because I froze, and then I burned, and then I froze, and then I'm pretty sure I got sandblasted on Sunday.
Yes, it was.
It was a beautiful day, but whew.
My skin is expertly exfoliated right now.
Yeah, and you weren't even sanded in it.
No, I wasn't. But made it to Grundy for practice.
Grundy for practice. It was a bit nippy there, and I got a little toasty because wearing 4 layers to combat the wind and cold. Didn't even think, hey, some of your skin's going to be exposed to the sun in the gray kind of overcast where you don't even think about wearing sunscreen. So yeah, I got a little crispy. We got a little chilly. We took a few hundred pictures. Schmoozed a little bit with some of the guys we haven't seen in a while. Met some of the new drivers that are coming in. Pretty much had a good time. Good. Our new intern Dan, he did pretty good. He's getting a little more comfortable in the middle of the racetrack behind a camera. And Aaron now being the senior underling, I don't know.
Senior assistant.
Yeah.
And then you guys made it out to South Bend.
Oh yeah, yep. We cut out of Grundy as soon as we had a picture of everybody that was there, and yeah, we made the 3-hour trek in 2 hours just because time change and everything, and definitely didn't break any traffic laws getting there, and forgot about how much construction there was in the state of Indiana to offset the construction in the state of Illinois. But yeah, we showed up right about intermission, just in time for the Crown Vic feature. Saw a couple of our Grundy guys out there. Noah, John Griffin, Elijah Atkinson. They snuck out to South Bend to do some actual Crown Vic racing, which it was kind of funny. All day at Grundy, where's all the Crown Vics? Well, they're all racing out in Indiana.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Yeah,
that
they
made it out there to support that track.
It is, yeah, and I know we had a few up at M40, but I haven't seen the results to call anybody out. So if you were at M40, good job, proud of you. And then yeah, we I don't want to say survived because that makes it sound like it was painful, but we made it to our first South Bend Motor Speedway Night of Destruction. We talked to Ryan, a couple episodes ago, doing 4 of those this year. This was the Crown Vic and Night of Destruction. And whoo boy, Jay Freet, he always says, nobody ever comes to shoot with him at a Night of Destruction. He's always doing those on his own. So it was fun, having additional photographers out there for that madness. And that's about the nicest way to put it. That was absolute madness. Those people are insane. It was a hell of a show. They tore up more than a junkyard's worth of equipment. I had fun. I was a little cold, and we got real comfortable with the burn barrel we had going in the infield because there's obviously no heating in the infield, and it got really windy.
Good. And
Yeah,
you
we
guys
took plenty of pictures and then came home, took a brief nap,
loaded up and went to
and
Kankakee
yeah,
with me.
then we went
And
got dirty.
shared 2,500 photos with me. So thanks. So
I just
hopefully
wanted to
those are
share the love.
hopefully those are posted before this is. We'll see. We're on crunch time, and I'm leaving for Florida on Saturday, so gonna be real interesting and probably a lot of caffeine in the next 5 days. But
I've taught you how to speed that up.
yeah, yes. So, but anyway, it was good to get out to Kankakee and meet and greet with Evan, see the Knippenbergs, and
Hmm.
get to meet my new drivers.
Yeah,
And rub elbows with the drivers that I already know, and you know, if
and
there's
it
any
was
if
fun
there's
for us,
drivers,
shooting a new track because you've shot Kankakee before, but me, Aaron, and Dan, we've never shot there before.
yeah,
So going playing in the infield, learning some new stuff, getting absolutely sandblasted because the wind that was coming over the crest there at
oh yeah,
turn 4.
that's
And
what
then
we gotta get
at the end
around.
of the day, so all day long, I'm getting sandblasted with they kick the rooster tails up and it all comes right at me. I think Dan and Aaron got some down on the other end of the track, but it seemed like turn 4 was the worst
Yeah,
because turn 1 and 2, it all shoots over down into the pits, but turn 4 right at me. And then at the end of the day, I'm standing next to Brian on the outside of the track, and the car's coming through the turn, kicks up the rooster tail, comes right up to the wall, and gets blown back out to the infield.
yep.
Like I don't get
I have all the secrets.
clearly.
But yeah. So, I'm not going to be pessimistic or negative about it. But certainly, an opportunity has presented itself
Yeah.
with the Sauer family putting South Bend Motor Speedway and Plymouth Motor Speedway back on the market in hopes of kind of pulling themselves out of this. Kind of similar to Knippenberg, actually.
Yeah.
They want to get out, spend time with family. They feel like they're missing quite a bit.
And knowing Kevin for as long as I've known Kevin, yeah, I totally get it. He has put his heart, soul, and everything he has or will ever have into that racetrack.
Certainly,
That
and
is definitely his baby, and he deserves some family time.
definitely, definitely, and they have said that at least through 26, presuming that a buyer's not going to show up tomorrow and pay
Mm-hmm.
cash and be done with it, but they're going to move forward with the schedule as planned, and run through the season. But yes, we hope that whatever happens in the future, stays at track, and we get to
Mm-hmm.
continue our relationship with them out there. Uh, but as one track kind of, I guess two tracks kind of look to potentially be lost. We had still heading into the 2026 season,
Mm-hmm.
and we're firing things up out of Grundy this Saturday, the 18th, for the 49th annual Spring Classic with the Big 8 late models, mid-am cars,
Mid-Ams, yeah,
M
not the
series,
series, just
cup
the division.
cars, Sixers, and I feel like there was one more. Hang on,
I feel
Super
like there's
Cubs,
a special guest on
Super
his way.
Cubs. Yeah. Oh, did you hear him walk down the stairs?
No, I saw him.
Oh, yes.
So we need to get you that
Yeah.
green screen we've been talking about.
Yes. He very much enjoyed his time. You want to come back on? No. Okay. Must be TV shy. He said that it looked like he put on 15 pounds.
Ah,
But we did get him cut, so he looks good. Anyway,
that's good.
back to the regularly scheduled show. What?
So much for that.
Yeah. Right. Well, he looks at me. You want on? You got something to say? No, you don't. Anyway, so yes,
He
we're
does all the
looking
way
at.
up until you ask him about it.
Right, right. Looking forward to get things started. So, without further ado, let's just welcome in Steve Bechtel, promoter at the Grundy County Speedway. All right, welcoming in for his 13th appearance on Illiana Stock Car Radio
That's got to be lucky or something.
is our love promoter over at Grundy County Speedway, Steve Bechtel. How are we doing tonight, Steve?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. 13. Is that a record for you guys?
That is actually a record. You and Tony were tied all the way up until you showed up tonight.
Wow, that's so that just means you've been giving us 13 years of great coverage in the Chicagoland, Illiana area.
Yeah.
I don't know if it quite maths out that way, but yeah, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or you like talking about racing, and makes the show go, right?
Yeah, a few of those episodes you guys weren't even here. You guys just let me talk, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there were a few. Hey, what are we talking to? I don't know. Steve probably wants to talk about something.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I know you certainly would like to get the promotion out because Grundy kicks off this Saturday with the 49th annual Spring Classic, uh, featuring the Big Eight late models, the Mid Americans, Super Cups, and Sixers on this Saturday night, April 18th.
Yeah, it's been a long off season. It's funny when you talk to people; they're like, "Man, I bet you're freaking because the season's here and you're going to get busy, busy, busy." And I tell everybody the same thing: I'm busier in the off season. Then, once the season starts, it kind of takes care of itself. On a weekly, you got your stuff you do every week. You do radio, you do social media, make sure the points are good, put out a schedule of events, etc. But the off season stuff is crazy, and I'm glad that, like I said, now we're to the point where we can actually get some racing in. 49th annual Spring Classic, a continuance event from Rockford Speedway days gone by. Cool to have David Deary and Terry Gerke and all that staff come in to Grundy County Speedway with the Big 8 Late Model Series. Unfortunately, Mid-Am, the stock car series itself will not open with us this year. They open up in a couple weeks at Plymouth, but our weekly Mid-Am cars will be there, plus the American Super Cubs and the Sixers will kind of launch the season for us before we, kind of go full bore with our weekly classes in 2 weeks on May 2nd.
Yeah, certainly. And I know, I guess really, we talk a lot about local racing and how to make it survive, help it survive. And big news from NASCAR is, making the Chicagoland return to Joliet. And, that's exciting as just local race fans of the area, more history coming through that we'll be able to talk about in 30 or 40 years. But how do you see this maybe boosting local racing, having the big guys come through?
Well, it can only be a plus. I mean, we don't know exactly, what kind of, positives it can be for us. We just know it's going to be a positive to be able to partner with them. We're already working on a bunch of stuff, kind of behind the scenes. They want it to be obviously a successful event. We're going to try our best to help them, and they want our July 2nd event that we're going to have that Thursday be successful, and they want to work with us on stuff. So a lot of moving parts on that. Some stuff we can't quite announce just yet that we're working on, but we're excited to race July 2nd and then give everybody else the weekend off at Grundy, the third, fourth, whatever, to go to Chicagoland Speedway, see ARCA, see O'Reilly, see the Cup Series. And like I said, I just think it's going to be a win-win. The exposure that, we're kind of giving each other, I think is going to, be a win between advertising and just sharing stuff and having us have a presence at Chicagoland Speedway, might not help us the weekend of, when we're there, July 3rd, 4th, et cetera. But, if we could, be on property and we're, making people aware of our Speedway and handing out schedules for the, the second half of the season and maybe having some of our, our cars on display is only going to help us going forward throughout the year and hopefully in the future with Chicagoland Speedway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly. And staying on theme with NASCAR, is this your third year now or second year
This
running
is
the?
only our second year. We actually got a very late start last year doing it. Most teams kind of sign up, at the end of their season, November, December. We didn't, I think, officially sign up until like March of last year. So a lot of learning, a lot of catching up to do last year. I think we're a little bit better equipped to handle the NASCAR stuff
Yeah.
this year. One different division. Our super late models are not going to be a NASCAR division. That'll be our Big 8 Series type cars. They're going to be our premier NASCAR division, along with street stocks, pure stocks, and then obviously Mid American Sportsman is our second division. But yeah, we're we're looking forward to it. Especially now that we got kind of one under our belt with a lot of the stuff that goes. There's so much behind the scenes that nobody realized, and I, who handled the bulk of it, Joe DeBello, kind of said, "Hey, I need you to handle NASCAR," and it was a lot. But between me and him and just everybody, the girls in the office, we really, like I said, kind of embraced it and made it good, and I think it helped us last year, and I think it's going to be even better in year two.
Yeah, good. And as we've talked at Wits End on here about classes, you guys have taken the more the merrier stance on that. So, you just listed off the NASCAR classes and how those are set up. But let's talk about the Grundy classes that you guys are going to be running this year.
Woo, how much time you got there, Mr. Goody?
Well, my wife's making dinner, so
I
got a microwave, so we're good.
We've added a bunch of classes. Obviously, when Rockford Speedway closed a few years ago, it's never a fun thing to see a local track in the area close down. Wanted to give some of those drivers a chance to continue racing, because I've seen Raceway Park close down. I've seen Illiana close down, and a lot of times 50%, if not more, they just stop racing, and their car doesn't fit in rules wise somewhere, or they don't have a class to run, and we kind of wanted to be a good neighbor and do that, and work with David Deary and do some of the the thrill show and figure eight stuff that we do. But yeah, we got our NASCAR classes, of course. Our bread and butter, the super late models will return with the six pack series. I'm sure we'll talk about that. The Sixers are a newer class. The Crown Vics are taking off like wildfire all across the country. We run our enduros. We run not one but two Super Cups. With Midwest Super Cup being for the kids, they're just going to race against people their own age, and then our just regular Super Cups, for adults and whoever who wants to run. Midwest Pavement Midgets are going to be here, I think, 6 times. So yeah, we got a full plate of stuff for everybody, which it's everybody has a different palate on what they like, so we can
I was just
throw
thinking Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of racing.
I hope we never get to 31, but it's nice to mix it up, and it's also nice that allows us to give people days off. If you remember 10 years ago at Grundy or Illiana, it was always the same 4 divisions every night, and you ran barring Illiana's usual 8 rainouts, you ran
Right.
20 nights a year. You ran 20 nights at Grundy, and it's so much nicer now to where you can give different divisions, different nights off, to where maybe that 22 race schedule is now down to 14 nights, which lets people have a life, lets them have a summer, lets them plan a vacation, stuff like that.
Yeah, so speaking about kind of breaking up the schedule, you guys do a good job of creating a special event, maybe a higher purse for each of those divisions. As far as like kind of your weekly guys, I know some of those like are kind of more touring series almost. But you guys still plan special events through even your lowest class all the way up to your top dogs.
Yeah, one thing that we've learned over the years is that everybody um, likes the out of car introductions, and it's kind of a delicate balance to where we want to get the show to run quicker and get people out of there earlier, which is why we switched our start time to 7:30 a few years ago. But it was kind of you got to weigh it out, and it just seemed that the drivers really like that. So we make sure we go all the way kind of from top to bottom, and all the way down to the pure stocks and the Sixers and stuff like that. Crown Vics, to where we do a night. We get the cars on the front stretch. We let the drivers get out. We do out of car introductions. Wave to the crowd. They wave to them. They get to see the faces of the drivers. We give them some extra laps, some extra money, and they feel like big shots for the night. So that's anytime we could do that, we want to. It seems like the lower classes sometimes get neglected, but more and more there's people that want to support what we're doing. We just announced this week with VRS Realty, they're putting together a pure stock challenge deal, and it'll be no extra dates. It'll be the 6 nights that they were already racing anyways, but they're going to keep separate points for those 6 races, kind of do a little point deal, We're going to have a night where we do out of car introductions, extra laps for those races, extra money, an extra $100 to win, which some classes don't seem like much, but when you're only making 150 to win on a regular night, and now you can get make it 250 to win, and it pays all the way down, all the way down to last place,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So it's great to have partners like Mike Glenn and VRS Realty and so many other great groups that want to help us and kind of put stuff into these classes that we can pass on to the drivers.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely appreciate the support from wherever we get it, whether within our circle or outside.
Mm-hmm.
I know getting more support outside certainly helps growing the sport, but we definitely appreciate the support from inside too. But just as you appease all the drivers with special events, you also take care of the fans, and whether they're circle track race fans or like to see, wrecks and monster trucks, you got those too.
Yeah, again, it's so weird to think back to 5 years ago, and we were, 4 divisions racing Friday nights through Labor Day
Mm-hmm.
weekend, like they've done out there for decades. And like I said, between Rockford closing and us, the fair board so graciously finally agreeing to let us do the figure eight. I mean, that opens us up to figure eight trailer races, bus races. Had a monster truck show last year. They're listed on our, there's a TBA on our schedule June 27th. We're just ironing out the final times and stuff like that, but the monster trucks will be back again. This year, the Bahama Bracket Nationals was such a cool event that so many of our local teams went to. And when Rockford closed, I worked on David for quite a while, David Deary at Rockford Speedway, and he brought it there, and it's such a fun weekend to to see that. So like I said, we got a mix of everything. If you can't find a division or type of car class that you like, you're just not looking hard enough, because
That's
between
Yeah.
like I said, the midgets and the super cups, and the entry level high school racing association. The key is, we want success now, but we want success 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and you got to
yeah,
get these kids and super
Mm-hmm.
cups that move up, or a high school racing association to see them move up, and hope that you can get enough of them to kind of keep moving up the chain. So the mid-am division and the late model and super late model division can keep bringing in new talent every couple of years, and kind of keep that rolling.
yeah. And
And
I think
I'm gonna hold on. I
what
don't mean to interject here, but I'm gonna go off script and say, yeah, working up the chain. Steve, talk a little bit about all the stuff that Cheryl's got going on.
Oh my God, I joke with her about every time we add something. It's like, call Cheryl Ran extension 2, and then if you want to talk about her Grundy Cars extension 3, and now the Juice Box extension 4, she she's just amazing as a person, as somebody that in racing, it's so easy to race for 10 to 15 years and just kind of get out of the car and realize, man, I spent all these days at the racetrack, and I want to go to the lake, or I want to spend time with my family, or I want to do stuff like that. And she's just, she's at the track every week that she's not with the Mid-American Stock Car Series, where she's half owner. But it's just grown from the kids night, and a candy scramble, or a nickel toss, and the bikes, and so many other tracks we've noticed. I like to kind of give her credit. I mean, not, believe me, we're not the only track that's doing a bike giveaway, but she goes all the way back to Illiana, and she's done it for so long, and in a lot of years, she's over 100 new bikes. I mean, that's just, again, I'm not going to put down any track that only gives down 10, because that's awesome too. But when you see some of these track give away 10 and 15, and Cheryl's giving away 100, or she's giving away 350 backpacks filled with school supplies on back to school night. We just talked earlier today about her juice box racing. The Power Wheels that we have are kind of, they're set up for the younger kids, and they
Mm-hmm.
all are pretty much the same, and you're out there, you kind of, some of the kids don't know what they're doing and stuff. And the juice box carts, if you're not familiar, they're got motors in them, they're a little bit faster, and it's more of a step up, and there's people that are involved in that and really want their kids to learn the ins and outs of racing and everything. And we just talked about that, giving them probably about 8 dates this year, some random days when nothing's going on at the track. Some days when there is stuff going on at the track, so they get to race in front of a crowd, before the races start and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. Like I said, she wears so many hats. She's really stepped up in the last year and doing so much, helping us with the fair and getting ready. Everybody forgets that we're so involved with the racetrack, but it's a fairgrounds first, and they do the fair every year, and it's cool when some of the racing people step up and do that. So yeah, Cheryl is phenomenal, and we're so thankful that we have her to do all the things that she does, and she's always thinking outside the box for more. I've never heard somebody say, "Hey, what do you think about that?" And she's like, "Okay," So they got games on kids' night. They're over there playing, with just all this. Again, I can't even keep up with all she has, coloring contests and all this stuff that gets. Again, I don't know about you guys. I'm sure you're pretty similar to me. I mean, I'm a lifelong fan because when I was a kid, I went to the races and I fell in love with it, and I begged my dad to take me, cousins, neighbors, grandpa, I want to go to the races, I want to go. And finally got to the point where I was old enough to where I could just go by myself, and they were holding me back the amount of times that they wanted to go. And I'm sure you guys were there with your dad as well, and that's why you're still doing it, because you just grew up loving it.
Yes, he dragged me kicking and screaming.
Yep, and just jumping on that juice box. Last October we raced the mini Grundy cars in the juice box before we got started with doing the Goblin Enduro. And one of those kids that was racing juice box back in October, he's got a Super Cup this year.
Yeah, like we talked about the progression. You can get a juice box or one of those, and you got Super Cups. And I look at a guy like a Connor Kosowski who was doing Super Cups, and he's running a mid-am now. I mean, wasn't Paulie Schaefer in a Legends car?
He was in a Bandolero.
Bandolero? Yep. Oh, that's even worse.
Tristan Batson too in the same race, and then we've got pictures, back when Blake Brown was driving a Legend.
Yeah, so to just see all those guys, it's we all have our heroes, the Larry Schulers, the Eddie Hoffmans, and stuff like that. And no matter how much we want them to do it forever, we know eventually that they're going to take a step back. And like I said, we just got to have enough people in the limited class now that maybe want to move up, or a mid-am. Look at Jeremiah Sanko and pure stock. It's one thing to move up, but to be successful, for him to start in pure stock, be a pure stock champion, anybody can move up, but to then win another championship, I mean, that's how you want to see the progression. And so like I said, it's awesome that you see it. It's awesome that we have so many classes. You might get kids that I don't want to do a Super Cup, but what's this high school thing about, or what's Sixers or Crown Vics, and it's all a different level of what you're doing at the track. It's a different level, obviously, financially, and you can just kind of grow, as your budget allows, or if you got enough help and everything else. So yeah, great points, Chris. That to see how many people, believe it or not, a lot of people might not remember this, but Eddie Hoffman got to start running enduros.
I've got the pictures.
Yeah, so I actually raced against Eddie back in the old Raceway Park days, and well, one of us made it to the high echelon of super late model racing, and one didn't. But
oh, come on, you climbed the stairs. You were in the announce booth at Grundy. That's pretty high up.
That's okay. So like I said, it's just cool to see how many people have moved up, and like I said, that's one of the funnest things to see out there.
Yeah, just talking to some of the Super Cup families that practiced last weekend. There was one of them, his dad runs a midget with our midget series. Like I said, Richard Bischoff, his kid's in Super Cup. He was running the juice box. I can talk tonight. Juice box back in October. And there was, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, it's for a long time. I've kind of joked with some of the I don't want to say older, but more experienced racers that I'm friends with that haven't been around in a while. I'm talking to them about Weltmeier's kids racing now, and Schuler's nephew's racing now. So it's all second and third generation. We're starting to get that coming up again with racers that are like in our demographic. Their kids are starting to race.
Yeah, or people that we grew up racing, Chris. Eventually, they're not their kids, but their grandkids will be be racing. So again, it's racing has always been that kind of sport. And you mentioned Richard Bischoff. His son's going to be racing Super Cups, but he runs Super Cups as well. So I know he'll be running. The kid will be running with Midwest, but there might be some dates where he runs. How cool!
I told him he needs to get a stacker for those things.
Yeah, but how cool would it be to be able to run against your dad or run against your kid, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's man, they should let you talk more, Chris. You actually got some good questions.
Okay, back to the script.
yeah. Let's see, where were we? So we're talking about Cheryl and all she does. She really kicks things off with Fair Week and doing the juice boxes, and you guys got a couple events there. Give me a second. Yeah, so you guys got 4 events there with the kids' Power Wheels on the 9th, and then regular race night Friday the 10th with the Mid-Am Street Stocks Crown Vics and the Midwest Pavement Midgets, and then Saturday the Demolition Derby, and then finishing off Fair Week on Sunday the 12th with the Stars and Stripes 250 Enduro. You can't see, but I'm reading the schedule. I did not commit that to memory.
Yeah, we like I said, you look at that and people think the fair is just about racing, which is always going to be a healthy dose. But there's so much more that we're going to be announcing soon with concerts and a lot of just the agricultural and the horse shows and the art hall building and the commercial building with all the vendors. We got a new carnival this year, which is going to be some better rides for the older kids. The last few years it was kind of demographic, for maybe the little kids. So we're trying to get some better rides for the adults and teenagers. We actually moved the fair off of the 4th of July weekend because it just seemed that between it being the holiday, a lot of people like to go out of town. A lot of people have this festival at their hometown, or the town over does fireworks, and it was just so hard to make everything work. So we were looking at moving it anyways to go with a new carnival, and then voila, Chicagoland announces what they did, and it's kind of a no-brainer not to run head-to-head against them. There's so many people that are just so excited and want to get back to NASCAR, or have never went when it was here the first time, and now they're newer fans and they're so excited to have NASCAR in their backyard. So we kind of felt it was best, let's just give our fans and our drivers, that weekend off. They can either do stuff with their families, they can go to Chicagoland Speedway, and then we're going to move the fair a week later, which, like I said, we're going to have a lot more stuff to announce. But yeah, it's cool to get the Enduros back. They used to do the Fair Time Enduro 250 years ago with the Midwest Enduro Series. Demolition Derby, which I never thought I'd see at the front stretch of Grundy County Speedway. We got that going on. And then, like I said, Cheryl just does not only the juice box and the Grundy cars. Dan Hill has a group of people that they do the I can't think of the proper what they used to do on the infield with the fair, the cars that go and the weights and
tractor
pull.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it for some reason. But they do like kiddie tractor pulls. They got a whole setup for kids to do that, and for the first time, of course, Cheryl involved, and we're going to do a touch of truck to start off the fair that Wednesday. So yeah, lots going on in the fair. A lot more things are going to be announced here in the next couple of weeks, because before you know it, it'll be here very soon.
Sure, that's exciting. Come for the ride, stay for the corn dogs, and maybe catch a race in between.
I was gonna say, there's a race too.
Yeah, there's plenty. Like I said, not the preacher with our concessions, man. He has a million things, but then you go to the fair and it's just like, oh, steak and potatoes, or this, or a Philly sub, and 12 million people with lemon. What a scam that is with the lemon shake outside. I have a lemon, a cup of sugar for $6. I mean, I wish I could go on the road and just do that and make millions. But they love them.
Sure. So that's Fair Week. We already touched on Kids Night and Back to School Night with Cheryl, doing a great job with that. We've got the Windy City Showdown with the Midwest Trucks. Hashtag Blake Brown. We assume he's gonna probably be there. He just won this weekend.
I say he's doing pretty good so far.
First time back in a truck there, and he wins it, which is awesome. And that's fast time. and that's also includes the Mid-Am series. So let's talk about that Windy City Showdown and kind of what brought that on.
Well, before I say that, Chris, I got to mention something. I always say this to Blake, especially how good he's been doing since he came back into racing. But he was out of racing for a while there.
Yeah.
And his first race back, he won one of our what do you call it? Our iRacing. I think it was an Enduro or something. So I think I said it on the mic one night. Like, look at this guy. He came from winning enduros to doing this, and it was so cool to see the partnership with him and Jeff Olson and that whole family, to see how he did, in the Mid-Am, in the late models and stuff like that. Jeff has a son that he wants to kind of put his attention into that, so I understood kind of, the breakup there of that team. But awesome to see Blake end up in a ride, former truck champion, fast right out of the box. Chris Purdy helping that situation come along, and looking forward to having him at the Grundy truck race. A few things kind of came into play with us putting this together. We've usually had the Mid-Am series at the track twice. Once at the beginning of the year, once for the Bettenhausen. And Tim and Cheryl wanted to do something a little bit different. They had some sponsorship, and they wanted to start the season at Plymouth, so they weren't going to be able to do the Spring Classic like they've had the last couple of years. So I was in Tim's ear all the time. I want a second race. I want a second race. I want a second race. How can we do it? And then the last few years, when Midwest Tour came down, they, the trucks were like a support series for them. Well, now with Midwest Tour basically being moved as part of one of our six-pack races, and our support divisions were pretty much set. It was pretty quick, went together, reached out to Drew with the Midwest trucks. They were interested in coming down, because that probably would have been the same weekend that Midwest Tour would have been there. Talked to Tim, and they talked, and they said, yeah, let's make this work. We got the High School Racing Association there, and they're actually going to run the chicane that you see in our enduros. That's going to be kind of a special cool deal for them that they're looking interested in doing. And we got a couple surprises up our sleeve for that. I'll let Tim and Drew kind of announce what they're looking to do. I know one of them is I think it's going to be very cool, and I can't wait to announce that. But yeah, it was just a matter of not being able to fit either of them in on the schedule at their normal dates that they got, and decided let's put them together, kind of let them kind of co-headline and do what they're doing. And like I said, the truck series is obviously 30 plus trucks. On their opening day, they're doing it right. Tim and Cheryl, I mean, from when Tim took over that series a few years ago, and we always talk, from 6 cars up. We had 6 cars at that first race at Rockford Speedway, and to see how that's grown, and so it's, again, I'm looking forward to those guys kind of taking center stage and doing that event in August.
Yeah, Tim's done a great job. It kind of takes me back to when our Illiana days, when the Mid-Ams were a special show, and I mean they brought out a lot. I mean it was almost it felt like they were just reproducing in the pits, and it's good to see. It's good to see, that division as strong as it is. And I know Tim's talked about there's some cars that are like the chassis from '97.
Yeah.
It's able to continue on. So that's exciting for Mid-Ams. And how many times have you guys had the trucks? Have they been on regularly with the
just the last couple of years, I think. So they're not.
Yeah, and I think about half the times they've tried to run, they get rained out.
Yeah. So hopefully we get good weather, and like I said, looking forward to them and Mid-Am, because they can both definitely headline a show. So it's nice to kind of give them what we're looking to do, and then that's a week I believe before our rodeo yeehaw. So we got a whole lot of like I said, if you went to Grundy 10 years ago.
What kind of cars do they race at the rodeo?
I unfortunately missed it last year, and I heard from so many people that went, that worked it, how cool of a deal it was. It was held in our horse arena. It was jam-packed. We brought in extra seating. That still wasn't enough, and so we're going to do it again this year, only we're going to set everything up on the racetrack, which how freaking cool is that? And
Awesome.
like I said, we're going to have the seating in the front stretch. I think the only person that's not a fan of that is Big Daddy John Stark, because he helps with the setup for the demolition derby and the brick,
Mhm.
the blocks and the dirt and the rodeo and stuff like that. But he's just a machine when it comes to doing events like that. So yeah, even if like I said, it's crazy to think of all the stuff that it's crazy to think that we used to, night of features, Labor Day was our last race,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and now we do the night of thrills, we do the Bentonhausen, and then we turn the Bentonhausen into a 2 day Bentonhausen. We do the Lions Club car show. We do the Bahama Brackets, which is 3 days. We do the Goblin 250. So yeah, so many years it was like
You remember
Labor.
when we used to have like a month and a half between the end of the season and the banquet to get ready?
Now you got
Yeah,
a week and a half.
yeah, no, exactly. That's believe me, I feel it when I'm ordering trophies and jackets for the champions, and it's like, oh man, I did that a couple of years ago. I was like, oh man, I got plenty of time for for the banquet because we did it after the Bettenhausen, and so I
Mhm.
had like 6 weeks, and then it was like we did the Bahama brackets, and I still didn't do the trophy order, and I'm like, oh, I do that at the end, and she goes, well, it's 3 weeks later, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
scrambling. Lori from Reed's Trophies in Indiana. Oh, God love her. She's taken care of us for ever since day one for me in 2011. I think she was here earlier than that with Tommy White helping move that along at Grundy and at Illiana. But yeah, it's just crazy to see how many Saturdays we run, how many double headers, triple
Mhm.
headers. Stuff like that. So it's like I said, we keep you guys busy.
Yeah. For sure. So as you just mentioned, wrapping up the season there, your points wrap up Labor Day weekend with your fan appreciation night and Duro night of features with the Lee Schuler Memorial, and that's followed up with I think the night of thrills, and then the Bentonhausen, which is now ASA Midwest sanctioned. So that should be exciting. Getting some of those touring guys chasing points, and then
And knock on wood, she'll get better weather in September as opposed to August.
yeah, and then the Morris Lions Club swap meet, and of course the brackets and the Goblin to wrap up the postseason activities. But we haven't touched on it yet, and it's kind of the big news coming out of Grundy as far as super late models go. But you've gone away from even a every other week class to just six, and I know mentioned in that post was pretty healthy purse. So let's talk about the 6 pack super late model series and all the benefits of that decision.
Well, that was something that has been, staring us in the face for a couple of years. We were really the only short track in the area that was running super late models on a weekly basis, and wanted to narrow it down some. So we took some dates away, and it still turned into, it's just an expensive deal to run super late models. Even if every other week, and so we sat and talked with the drivers. We looked at what was successful. Midwest Tour, they run 10 races, and that's that. The Tundra Series, I think they run 6 races. Slinger still runs some weekly stuff, and they got a little challenge series, I believe, but nowhere near as many dates as we ran. Dell's runs the Alive for Five, and we really sat and this is the technology that we're using today has really helped out, like with having meetings with drivers and getting them together and just kind of getting their feel for stuff. And we thought, well, what if we did less races but made them more appealing, more laps, more money. The guys that you're always going to have your regulars. Eddie Hoffman's going to be there every night. Ricky Baker, if he's running for points, there's a handful of guys that are going to be there every night. But then you got these guys that kind of sit on the fence and they're like, well, I'm going to run 8 nights, but I got 16 to choose from. We kind and again, some nights we had 10 cars, which it's weird to say this because the racing was phenomenal. I mean, I can't, Chris, you were there every night. I can't
Mhm.
tell you how many 10 car features were just like, wow, I can't believe these guys are side by side and passing and doing this and doing that. But, in society world we're living in. Everybody, car count, car count, car count.
Mm-hmm.
They'd rather see
Everybody wants to see an
yeah,
entry list for your weekly show.
yeah, they'd rather see a crappy race with 16 cars than a phenomenal race with 10. And I get it as a race fan. When I was a kid, I wanted 40 cars to show up for an ARCO show because I wanted a last chance race. I wanted cars to go home. I wanted the best of the best. But unfortunately, it's not 1982 anymore, and things have changed. There's not 100 late models in the state of Illinois that could come race. So we this is me and Joe talking all winter. Talked a lot with Tommy White, talked a lot with David Deary, trying to get the limited late model class up. And we just decided let's try to do a little 6-pack deal. I thought of the name just because Kenny Rogers and the movie 6-pack, so we got that logo in the thing. Started lining up some sponsors. Going to have some announcements on those here hopefully within the next week. We got some good sponsors behind this to do this. We got 5-star on board giving some certificates for stuff. And like I said, we're just hoping to, the guys that would, pick and choose. Well, now if you want to run 6 races, you got to run all 6 races if you want to be part of this. So we're hoping to get the part-timers to commit a little bit more, trying to give them more money. We, the last couple of years, people, why does Grundy take so long for their schedule to come out? Which it's not much later than anybody else, but we make sure that we're not walking on anybody else. It's kind of foolish for us to schedule a 100-lapper the same night there's a Midwest Tour race, or this is going on, or the Dell's live for 5. We're trying to get some Wisconsin cars to come race with us. So unfortunately, we have to wait until all those schedules are set, and we don't have any conflicts with our 6 races. And we keep saying 6, but technically the super lates are going to run 9 nights. There are 2 just regular nights. If you want to come out and kind of shake the car down and play with it, it won't be part of that 6-pack deal. And then we're also going to still do the Lee Schuler Memorial Night of Features. That'll the super lates will still come and run their 61 lapper, but it won't be part of the 6-pack. So I guess the long-winded answer is just kind of out of necessity that we kind of felt that we needed to do this. Even the top funded teams, it's hard to put tires on every night. If you just tap the wall a little bit, you're in the shop for 3 days making sure everything's straight, or you're not racing. Like, okay, we're not going to make it this week because the car's not right, or we got to order parts. And so again, we hope to spread them out. 5 out of the 6 are on Saturdays, which I think is going to make it obviously easier for out of town guys to come down if they want, or even our local guys. So looking forward to it. Our first year trying it. And then it kind of coincided with, okay, we're not going to run enough super late shows for them to be eligible for NASCAR points. They take your best 14 finishes. So then after talking to David Deary over and over, he said, let's give these guys a shot to grow and let them get NASCAR points and the recognition. And, Rockford used to be a NASCAR track. Madison used to be. So the guys are familiar with NASCAR. I mean, it's like $3,500 at the end of the year if you win the Tier 1 championship. So, hey, instead of Ricky Baker and Eddie Hoffman and those guys battling it out, let these, Big 8 kind of style cars do it. So we're kind of hoping a lot of things work together, that the 6-pack is good on its own. The limited late models kind of grow, and we're just, like I said, hoping that things kind of work out for us this year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for those guys too. It's like you said, it's not 1982 anymore. Hoosiers have cornered the market, and they're expensive, and fuel is slowly getting through the roof, and so yeah, it is expensive just to get out to the racetrack and get the car on the track. To do that 6 times is probably a lot more affordable than to do it 20 times. So hopefully those in between races, if you do wreck, you got a couple weeks, before you got to be back out there.
Yeah, it's what we said earlier. You got some time to go on a vacation if you want to plan something. And we didn't want to say, okay, let's do 6 races and let's do 6 40-lappers, because everything is a minimum of 100, basically. So it's almost like, okay, you're going to run 9 nights, but 6 of those are like, either twin 50s or 100 lappers. So it's almost like double the nights lap wise what you're doing. And I wanted to have fun with it too. I mean, everybody, if you know me, I'm a Raceway Park guy. I grew up on the Monzas, the twin 50s, the 330s, you know, a lot of people like the hundreds, and don't get me wrong, I like the 100 lappers too. But there's sometimes, you know, guy will start out front, take off. There's no caution for 75 laps, and it's a little bit boring. And I figure, well, let's do let's do twin 50s. So you got 2 different races, and we're doing a race called and I don't even know where this just popped in my brain, and I said, hey, that sounds good, and I don't know if it sounds good or not, but we're going to do the Junkyard Dog Challenge, and kind of an ode to Larry Schuler and that famous season that he had way back there in the 70s when he was the winningest driver in the country. I mean, Larry's probably the most popular driver at Grundy for I couldn't tell you how many years, and it's like let's kind of honor him, and let's do 3 30 lappers, and how cool is that gonna kind of be? So we're excited to do that, and I think that's going to be a fun night with the a different inverse every race, and kind of similar to the Trickle 99 that they do at La Crosse, but really we kind of stole it from the Milk Bowl out in Vermont. They've done this race way before anybody else did, so just trying to mix it up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Variety is the spice of life, right?
Yes.
So you got different series coming in, different kind of nights, different special events for the racers. You really got everything covered out there at Grundy County Speedway. Rodeo, soon to be concerts coming. I mean, demolition derby.
Monster trucks, juice boxes.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember what the enduros.
Power wheels.
Hey, it's not listed yet on the schedule for the fair. I might be able to adjust it to when you're available, Brian. But we got a chicken wing and a pie contest.
Okay.
I mean, even if you lose, you get free lunch, right?
Perfect. I'll be there.
Oh,
yeah, that's awesome. So definitely an action-packed season for 2026 out at Grundy County. What are you most looking forward to this year, Steve?
the banquet. No, I literally look forward to every weekend. I mean, as a personal favorite, my favorite event, I missed the first 2 because I never heard about it. This was in the 90s, and I must not have saw it in my Midwest Racing newspapers, or I didn't know what it was. But I missed the first 2 Bahama Bracket Nationals, and year 3 I went with the Wiltshire family, and over time I started going with Bill Nearing and helping him, and then Bobby Jean Wall, I went with her for many years and helped her. But to me, that's the funnest event that I on the calendar. And when David agreed to have it at Grundy County Speedway, that was cool. And it's not because it's the end of the season and I'm thankful the year's over, but to me personally, that's one of my favorites. But like I said, I'm looking forward to they can't be home runs every one of them. You got certain nights with this division off or that. I mean, the 6-pack I'm looking forward to. Like I said, the Windy City Showdown, Spring Classic. There's so many. Obviously, the thrill shows are. It's cool to sit in the infield before the races start and see how jammed the grandstands are, and to see the buses and the trailers, all the work that John Starrick, Trevor Starrick, all those volunteers do to get those buses together and the trailers, and the cleanup that nobody, at the end of the trailer race, it's like World War III out there, and everybody leaves, and John Starrick is like, all right, let's go, let's get rolling, and we got to get this track ready. And it's not ready for the next week. I mean, it's usually ready by Monday. They get it all done. And so we got so many volunteers, people that came out the last couple of weeks and helped with stuff, so many partners that help with things. I'm just, like I said, I'm looking forward to, like I said, obviously the 6-pack, to see how that works. And again, the Bahama Brackets is always going to be special for me. The Bentonhausen, to be able to negotiate back and forth with Mike McCooley so much that first year, there was other tracks that were just taking it, like, oh, we're going to have it here at M40, and Mike McCooley was like, really? I didn't even talk to these people. Yeah. And to negotiate with him to bring it to the track, to keep the tradition going, and then to turn it into a 2-day show. It's like I said, I really look forward to all of it. It's just it's I've done this my whole life, and I just want to be able to keep on doing it and have fun and pass on the fun to drivers and fans and everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. And we certainly appreciate that over here at Illiana Stock Car Radio.
Hey, you got it right this time.
Yeah, yeah. Saving the sport.
There you
we
go.
Preserving. That's the word.
There you go. Preserving
the sport. Yes.
You spent all your getting words right on getting the name of the podcast right.
Yeah, I did. So, and as you've been on for now the 13th time, you've done our one positive about racing. So, if you've got one positive to share with us tonight, we appreciate it.
Man, just the camaraderie, like we just mentioned, we had crap weather 2 weeks ago, and we still had a full group, 20 people, come out on volunteer day and help us out. It shows you that there's and we had everything. We had kids, we had senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just shows you that it's hard to keep this sport going. You never hear of a new short track opening. I mean, you guys obviously saw the struggles with Kankakee. Last minute, finally got something going. We've lived through Rockford. We've lived through Illiana, Crown Point, I believe. Was that the name of the speedway out by you guys?
At times.
Yeah. I mean, when we're losing so many of these tracks and there's so many problems, to see so many people that still just want to be part of it and just kind of keep it, like you said, preserving it. It's not just us. I mean, we get the job of doing it, and we get the praise once in a while. We get yelled at a whole lot more than the praise, and but we do it all because we love it. A lot of people are volunteers. Some people are paid, but at the end of the day, it's it's not even minimum wage what they're getting paid. You got a general manager like Joe DeBello that flies in from Florida, which is just ridiculously crazy to think about, that he's here just about almost every weekend just because he loves racing and fell in love with it here and wants to do it. So I guess my one positive is that there's still people that care enough to want to do this and support us, whether with sponsorship or, hey, I can come and help you build this, or I can come and paint that and stuff like that. And like I said, thankful is cheesy as it sounds. I'm thankful for guys like you. I mean, you guys were a little in limbo. Jeremy not coming back. I mean, you guys could have just said, well, we're gonna take a break from doing this, and you guys stepped up and took it over and had to learn how to. I'm sure you learned, you knew a lot of the stuff, but now you're doing everything on your own. Occasionally you even let Chris talk, so that's cool that we see. But yeah, just again to see. Just to see, you guys still supporting us. People don't even, and you speak of Cheryl, and I love her, and you guys should love her too. And this is one more reason you should. I don't know if you saw it, but you posted.
I saw it,
Chris. And I'm going to say this to anybody listening, but Chris posted pictures from over the weekend, and you got to put a watermark on him. I mean, it's it's his business. He wants you to buy pictures. He's driving 2 hours round trip to get there, all the hours that he's spending doing this, all the camera equipment, and he posted a few photos, and they got the watermark on them, and everybody just shares the watermark. And Cheryl was like, God damn, they're $1. Go support these guys. And a lot of you, if you're listening from the Grundy side of things, you might be wondering, well, who in the hell is Goody? Who is Brian? What does he do? He's wearing a Shady Hill hat. Yeah, but he's a photographer too. He did Shady Hill. He's stepping up and doing Kankakee. I got to tell you, there was a few people, Brian. I told this to Chris, but a couple of people reached out and were like, oh my God, I can't believe we lost Goodacre. They're going to Kankakee. What happened? And I'm like, calm down. We're still stuck with Chris. It's Goodacre photography is more than one Goodacre. And like I said, it's just cool that you guys, keep. I'm sure there's other things you could be doing on a Tuesday night, and for you guys to do this and edit it and publish it and pay. Everybody assumes this stuff is free. I'm sure you're paying for hosting behind the scenes and all the stuff that you guys do. And
that's where that dollar goes.
Yeah, you don't see none of that money. That just goes
Yeah,
for that.
honestly, that dollar download program, that's pretty much just paying the website bill.
Yeah, and by being able to get some nice Good Acre Photography hats there, supply Chris with his Liquid Death and Brian with his Miller Lite, and like I said, I appreciate.
He gets the employee discount on that.
Yeah, fell off the truck, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Nice.
Yes. Well, thanks for coming on, Steve. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you at the racetrack. I won't see you this weekend. I'm going to Florida.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the racetrack this weekend.
We're gonna be there, but again, you guys know I always kind of throw a twist at you, so I got my question for you.
I knew it. All right. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go
Commercial,
anywhere,
we'll be right back.
folks. We'll be
All right, let's go to
right back.
commercial.
Chris, I know you like the brackets, but it's like you're so busy. I see you printing pictures and event pictures and all over the place.
There's racing that goes on that weekend?
Yeah, you just thought you were there for pictures. And Brian, I don't get to see a lot of what you do, but what's the one race on your calendar that you circle that is your favorite race to be with? I'll let Brian go first.
Because you don't know his answer.
Yeah. Does it have to be Grundy specific or just in general?
No, just in general, buddy.
Dude, honestly, one of my favorites is actually the Mystery 100 at Shady Hill Speedway, and it's the only 100-lap modified race that I know of. We do take a break at 50 laps because running on a dirt track, and if there's a lot of character, I mean, you can break stuff. You know, we start 20, we might be down to 10 by halfway just because of, the track goes and people are hitting ruts and stuff. But it is a grueling race. I would never, I don't race myself, but given the opportunity, I would definitely say no, just from watching these guys, and then they got their crew hustling out on the front stretch, changing tires, which is really cool for the fans. They don't get to see this stuff. We're not NASCAR, so to do those live kind of pit stops, adjustments for 15 minutes on the front stretch is really cool. And of course, we alger it up, and Dave gets.
I'm gonna say, yeah, Dave wanders around and bothers everybody.
Interviewing drivers while they're trying to change tires, and maybe shock or whatever they're changing, stuff or refueling. But it's really a neat race, and
yeah, and the whole thing where they don't know what they're racing for until they win the race.
Right. So you got second through tow money listed. First place is completely undecided until they pull into victory lane, basically.
Wow.
So you could definitely say like, oh, they're playing favorites, but like truthfully, it was kind of like not so much a mystery, just going up. Well, I know that we weren't getting the field of cars to kind of support that, and so we've reeled it back in a little bit. I say we, like
you're part of the promotion team.
We appreciate your service.
Yeah, right. And
as long as you tell Tammy how to spell the name right.
Right, but I think last year was like still 5,000 to win. Or excuse me, 2 years ago was 5,000 to win. Last year was 6,400 to win. So it's still a pretty good chunk of change.
Sure.
And that's definitely one that I always look forward to. And it's the end of the season. So the last night at the racetrack, or at least at Shady Hill, because then I go. And the other one that I have circled always, well, the past 2 years now, is Bahama Brackets, and I did just the Saturday 2 years ago, but I did all three last year. I don't know if I'm going to have that Friday
parts
off
that you
again.
remember of it anyway.
I'm definitely going to have Monday off, but I don't know if I'm going to have Friday off. I'll see Chris Saturday morning. It's definitely that's a grueling 3 days for us, between Chris getting the cards between each practice session and uploading, and Friday night and Saturday morning pretty much running on about 3 or 4 hours of sleep because we got to get them in and edited and ready to go for those on-demand prints that we do. And then we follow it up. I'm drinking beers, walking on the track, getting in trouble with the gang while Chris is in
I'm working.
Chris is in the photo booth listening to all of us idiots out there.
Hey, and believe it or not, I had to bend your brother's arm for a full year just even to do those event photos.
Oh, I heard it.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much bending my arm as it was making sure I had enough in the bank account to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And Chris, we'll go to you, and I guess I'll say, what's your second favorite race? Since we already know your favorite. What's your second favorite?
Honestly, I'm going to have to say the Bettenhausen just because of the history there, and I've been to all the ones that I can remember being at anyway. I don't think I missed one since I was old enough to remember being at one. I even remember there was one year at Illiana, it got rained out like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. We were doing it end of October.
Wow, yeah.
But, just the history of that race, I love being there. I love being a part of it. And realistically, that one's probably right up there at the top, but every week I love being there. I've said several times that I hate that my stress relief is so stressful, running around, getting 10,000 steps in before opening ceremonies. But that honestly is my favorite place to be. So my favorite race is the one that is currently happening, and I am in the middle of it.
Look at this guy running for office. That's a great answer. Nice. Well, and just one real quick question that usually I talk to you guys about this when we talk at the beginning of the season. But how was the memorabilia reunion show for you guys? You have fun?
We didn't have time to sit down.
Brian had
interviews.
Yeah, there was going to be an episode, and it never happened because we could never get away from the table. We were, Brian got rid of about 20 years of just racing magazines that I'm sure Kelsey is very appreciative of. We were talking to people. We had that full run of programs that we finally assembled into being able to sell. I had people digging through those. We had people, now that they've kind of figured out the organization system here before we change it again, before going into next year, they've got people digging through pictures and pulling out, oh yeah, hey, I remember that. I think right there at the end, Mike Varner came by, and his crew that was there with him was showing him all the pictures. So, that honestly, I love that show. It's fun to A, get rid of stuff, and B, make money and what amounts to our off season. It's not really an off season. It's just not being at the track season. But it's cool, even if we can't get to recording it, hearing all the stories from the people that may or may not remember it as accurately as they think they do. And, just kind of reliving really my youth too. Cause, the whole time that we were going to Illiana, Andy Grod was the photographer up until he got out, and it was Chuck Gonzalez and Bob Pilsudski after him. But I'm looking at these pictures thinking, I remember that night. I was only like this high, but I remember that.
And how cool to have Mike Varner, looking at Mike Varner pictures at your table, and other drivers that kind of pop up and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. Like the past few years, Pat Kelly's come by, Joe O'Connor's come by. It's like, these are guys that I remember looking up to. Not necessarily when I was like 5 and race car driver, but when we were younger, and these are race car drivers. These are cool guys, and now they're coming to me saying, oh yeah, I have, you got all these pictures from I remember doing that.
Yeah, no, you guys got a good display, man. You got a ton of stuff to look at. I think I told Chris this, and I'll let you guys go after this, but I told Chris, I didn't think I told you, Brian, I had an old Raceway Park jacket, and I didn't have nowhere to hang it. So I'm sitting there setting up Saturday night, and I'm like, man, where can I put this? Because my tables, there was no wall by them. So I said, you know what? I'm going to hang this up on Chris's line, and I'll tell him in the morning that, hey, if somebody comes by, blah, blah, blah. We do the early bird, and there's a guy in at 7:45, and he comes up to me and he goes, do you know who's at this table right here? And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think they're here yet. And I said, what are you interested in? And he goes, that jacket. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I used your space. I sold the jacket before you guys even got there. So thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Nice. No, but just appreciate what you guys do. Just not now. You guys have been in the sport, basically your whole adult life as kids, at the track. And again, it takes a lot of people like us that, just kind of selfishly just, do this, and everybody's like, yeah, you get paid, or you sell pictures, you make money. But at the end of the day,
that'd be nice if we did that.
Yeah, you're close to breaking even. And, now you, Brian, I know you did Shady Hill, and then you're doing Kankakee, and Chris comes all the way, out here to Grundy. And no, I'm just thankful that we have partners like you guys and the drivers, fans. Check us out, GrundySpeedway.com, and our Facebook page under Grundy County Speedway. I'm just thankful we can still do this every year.
Us too.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Steve.
Guys.
Looking forward to a great 2026 season out at the racetrack.
All right, man. Take care. Hope you guys have a great summer.
And as always, Steve Bechtel with a great interview, full of information.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we got more to come.
Yeah.
They're keeping a few things under lock and key. I'm sure they'll be out in due time to make sure they're promoting those exciting announcements.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's you know kind of one thing I was thinking about as he was talking is how many racetracks are tied to fairgrounds. There's a lot.
There's yeah.
You
There,
know,
there- it's it seems to be like, well, I mean, might be kind of a holdover from back when racing was, racing, and I want to say it was Kyle Petty in an interview many years ago, said that he just thought everybody's dad had a race car in the garage. Well, it seemed like just about every town had a racetrack crammed in somewhere. You listen to Stan Kalazinski talk about all the racetracks. There was literally, like, it seemed like every few blocks in Chicago there was another
yeah,
racetrack. So I think that when fairgrounds, at least around our area, fairgrounds are built, and you got this grandstand section at the back of it, and it always seems to have this oval area attached to the grandstand, and I would imagine probably a lot of them had racing going on currently or in the past at some point.
yeah. I mean, let's. Rensselaer was attached to a fairgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Kankakee is, Grundy
Right, Grundy
is.
is.
Some of the Iowa tracks I know are.
Mm-hmm.
Fairbury is tied to the American Legion, but that's where they have their fair. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's almost fairs are in racing is almost synonymous, right? They're
Yeah.
they're one and the same, and kind of
Even with Grundy, the Mazan Speed Bowl was the fairgrounds.
right, and to have that support of one another,
Mm-hmm.
and Plymouth tried to do the
You
concert
know,
thing.
Lake County Fair
There's
in Indiana, they do demo derbies. I feel like they raced there at some point. I'd have to consult our resident historian, but Dad doesn't taking calls anymore.
well, Stan probably
Stan,
has. Stan would probably have the answer, but it's
add that to our list of things to ask Stan next time we get him on.
yeah, right. And so having that ability to use that grandstand for more things,
Mm-hmm.
and to not just be purely tied into the 3 or 4 classes Friday night,
And
boom.
on that, how many times have we had a discussion with either Billy Alger or Rhonda Alger, or making that property make money on things that happen between Sunday and Thursday.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think we were talking last year with Billy, and he was saying, he's got to pay all of his annual bill, every bill he has to pay, he has to make on 20 nights.
Yep. And
You
that's
know,
if they don't rain out.
right. If you had 20 days to make your entire year's salary,
Can you do it?
yeah, I know I can. But maybe if
I
those
never
20
could.
days are all bracket weekend.
Yeah, right. It's certainly tough, being involved in racing.
Mm-hmm.
We get the bad rap of safety. We get the bad rap of the demographics of racing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because yeah, you can walk into the grandstands, and there are certainly fans that aren't sitting on $1 million, but you walk in the pits and you're just like, holy
They're sure
shit,
driving it around.
there's a lot of money here, and
Yeah.
it's so funny to think that it's like both ends of that spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cool that it all works. It all
Yeah,
works.
just like at Kankakee on Sunday, walking through the pits there, you got your four banger on an open trailer with, if a recent-ish pickup would be a good, but you got like the
98
yeah,
Silverado.
98 Silverado on an open trailer with a four banger in the back, and you got Osterhoff in his mansion on wheels.
Yeah, and that's one of the really neat things about racing is how so many different backgrounds are involved.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you get the average fan that they want to have a cold beer, they want to have a hot dog, they want to watch some wrecking stuff. you know, or some good racing, and then you have the people with money that want to go fast and are able to afford the parts and the technologies
It
that, you
always
know,
gets expensive when you want to go fast.
the super intelligent engineers have come up with
Mm-hmm.
over the years. You know, you look at some of these race car builders and shock people, and you know, some of
Now we're
these
playing fetch.
shock builders and suspension builders, and I mean they're geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
They're geniuses. Now, granted, this stuff is getting used more in the traveling series, the Bobby Pierces and the Ty Fredricksons, Ty Majeskis of the
I'm a
world.
jet ski.
Yeah. Well, I think Ty Fredrickson is racing too, but that's
He
Dan's.
is, but
Ty Majeski
what
was the
you're
Ty I was
what
thinking
you're
of.
really talking about is Toby.
Right, right. And those guys that build that stuff, and like, they're super intelligent, and
Mm-hmm.
you can put that part on a car and they're, you know, a few tenths faster, and that few tenths cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, we could bring Big Stan on here, and I'm sure he would tell us
Mm-hmm.
all about, you know, how much it costs to go just 1/10 faster on the
Mm-hmm.
racetrack, and how much that 1/10 of a second means.
I can
So
tell you
it's
just from RC racing that the top splits in RC racing are expensive,
yeah.
even for toy cars.
And so as we think about this as not super geniuses, not people with a lot of money that have these race cars, and you look at Grundy setting up a 6 race
Mm-hmm.
kind of super late model thing, like, it makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
you know. And Kankakee, same thing, you know. They have a bunch of classes, mostly entry level. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they have brought back super late models in a way. You know, there are rules to kind of limit some of the open motors that, you know, might be pushing 200-300 more horsepower, might be
Mm-hmm.
200-300 pounds lighter, but you're able to make it competitive. So
Right.
you'll get. We hope that we get to see some supers competing against crates and steel blocks, and you know, and hopefully that brings out the fans, brings out the cars. You know, that's what every racetrack needs, is
Yeah.
you need the cars to race, and you need the fans to come enjoy it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I get that maybe bringing a family of 4 is a little bit expensive for a Friday night. You
Well,
know,
we didn't even get into Grundy. They've got a couple times on the schedule this year. $5 family fun night, admission across the board. $5 to get in.
good, good. Doing things like that is very exciting too. And I know Kankakee, Evan mentioned it last episode. They're doing the foster families of
Mm-hmm.
Kankakee County, you know, free pass. So, you know, as people who are involved in the sport and want to see it keep going, you know, we definitely have to appreciate and support the supporters. So, you know, if you're at a racetrack, you know, and you buy a souvenir program, maybe you get lucky and win a T-shirt or whatever. Maybe you don't. Nonetheless, you've got the records,
Or
which
to
are
go on
cool.
free hot dog
Pictures
night.
are cool, or go on free hot dog night. But you know, you see advertisers in there.
Mm-hmm.
Go support them, because they're supporting us and the sport we love. You know, the
Absolutely.
VRS Realty Village Realty. You know, if you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for a house, try to use them if you're in that area.
Yeah, you know, it should. If the race cars got tied on the back, use tied.
Yeah, right. So, you know, that's something that I think we need to kind of push more and help get that sort of
Yeah.
thing rolling.
You know,
So,
that's the whole point of the advertising sponsorship relationship anyway, is, you know, get your business out there. You know, you utilize the people that put their money back into racing.
yeah. So it's just a full circle, right?
Yeah. Is that our segue to plug Goodacre Photography and Goodacre Design?
No, there's 4 other things we got to do first.
Okay.
According to the script. According
Hey,
to the
you wrote
script.
it.
Yeah, I know. Hey, sometimes we just venture off. Sometimes
we,
we
we
totally
do.
derail our brother because I just want to talk about something.
Well, it was good timing to talk about.
I I know, and he had said something about, you know, moving up, right? You start here, you enjoy it, and you move up, and
Yep.
you move up, and you move up, and next thing you know, you're in super late models.
Mm-hmm.
You're traveling with the World Outlaw late models. You're winning championships.
Yep.
You know, whatever.
And one of the things that Dad would always, we'd see people running NASCAR, and oh yeah, I remember that one night he was at Illiana driving the midget, one of the like open wheel Wednesdays.
Chris Bell
Mm-hmm.
was USAC. It was like a Friday night show. USAC.
Yep.
Daniel Hemrick and Eddie Hoffman put on
Mm-hmm.
an absolute great race. Eric Jones raced with the ASA Late Model Series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen some names just in
Yeah,
our time.
if you
that
want to
we've
get
seen on Sunday.
real political, Natalie Decker's been Illiana Motor Speedway.
Yes, she has. Yes, she has. So is Sterling Marlin. So is Richard Petty. But
Yeah.
we're talking.
Natalie actually raced at Illiana.
Are we talking career trajectory? So she's been in Illiana, so she might be the next Richard Petty. But
probably not. But the people that have run the Bettenhausen's kind of like a who's who of
yeah.
Midwest racing.
Yeah, Sauter, Weltmeyer, Galinsky, Myers,
Mm-hmm.
lot of names on there. Who's the one? Paul Goldsmith. Right?
Yeah, Paul Goldsmith.
One of the first Daytona 500
yep.
on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And actually a guy from Duval, Scott Duval. His dad was Red Duval. If I think Stan might, if Stan happens to listen to this, Kalazinski, he probably would know the name Red Duval. He was an Illiana guy, and Scott came to me looking for photos of Red Duval. I'm like, brother, that was 40 years before I existed, you know. So, and it probably wasn't quite 40, but I mean, he's got stuff on his Facebook page. That's Scott Duval, and he's raced late models, past few years out at Shady Hill. And like that's stuff like that's really cool. That you see the generations which we talked about tonight.
Well, yeah, even at South Bend Saturday night, Hayden Stremme was in the Powder Puff race. Got pictures of her racing a few years back doing the mini wedge program. She's sister to Dylan and Nick Stremme, daughter of Bobby Stremme, brother to David Stremme.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see that the families keep growing and keep racing.
Mm-hmm.
That's my one positive.
Oh, look at you sneaking it in the back door.
I had to. I have been unprepared every week. I just threw it out there because you could have.
Very nice.
But my one positive, I guess, is keeping it in the family. That sounds gross and disgusting and weird, but.
Well, I mean.
The families are growing.
I don't know if you noticed that, but we're family here.
We are. In fact, there's a picture that may or may not get posted that clearly shows us as brothers and nothing more. I mean, we are practically identical, minus my long hair. But
you got a little more gray in your beard, which is just crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, the being out there at Kankakee on Sunday, how many Eckhoffs did we know before Sunday? 1.
Yeah.
How many do we know after Sunday? I think 5. You know? It's a family operation. Knigenbergs, we saw Bill, Billy, and BK3 all out there. It's awesome to see these families just that grew up in racing keep racing. They're helping preserve the sport and keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
And them good acres. Because, I don't know if we said our name enough tonight to match last week's narcissism, but...
Well, we haven't gotten to the sponsor plugs yet.
Them good acre boys and what they're doing.
So then my one positive, I guess, is, I was running for office earlier with the favorite race. So I'm going to not run for office here and say my one positive is I cannot begin to tell. I know there's a lot of, goings on right now, but I cannot begin to tell you how good it felt walking, over that crest in turn 3 back down into the infield of South Bend Motor Speedway. I grew up at Illiana. We'd go to Grundy as often as we could, go to Crown Point. When I was there, it was South Lake, Broadway, whenever Illiana rained out. And far and away, Illiana Motor Speedway is my home track, always will be. But the way we were adopted into South Bend after Illiana closed, even before we became kind of not royalty, but not part owner either, but definitely, definitely part of the promotion team at Shady Hill. South Bend adopted us, so just to be able to walk back out there and take pictures like it was 2016 or 2017 again, that was that. Yeah, I know Buju would probably get even more emotional than me, but it was just so awesome to be there again.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand that. So as we kind of wrap things up, we'll go through the upcoming events here. Friday, so when this is posted, hopefully, fingers crossed, we got the 17th here. Kankakee's opening night. Kind of keep an eye on it. I know they're talking about rain all week, so we'll see where that lands. 418 is the 49th annual Spring Classic at Grundy. Sunday, 419 is. Are you ready for a 3-day weekend?
I think, yeah, I mean,
I
it's
will.
race
I
season.
will have a beer in my hand with my
Technically,
feet
last
up
week
on a
could have
beach.
been a 3-day weekend, but it
It
was
could
it
have.
was we did 2 tracks in the same day. So does that count?
Yeah.
And bonus points?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sunday the 19th, I'll be in sunny Pensacola Beach, Florida, with probably eating oysters and drinking Miller Lights. But you will be
I'll still be
in
working.
infield at Plymouth for the Fulls 200 Enduro with our friends over at Left Turn Graphics, Melissa
Hmm.
Keys. And it looks like Lagasty's on board, and he's going to bring the
Well, that's half the field.
hopefully all of Dutch Mafia and everything they got going on. Wayne, the famous Wayne Straka, is getting behind the wheel for I think the third time.
All right.
So be sure to get a few photos of him. If you happen to get Jake Lakeshore Jake,
I'm gonna
and
say I typically
Wayne,
get him in some photos. I'm sure
yeah,
I
if you
can
can
arrange something
if you
there.
can get Lakeshore Jake and Wayne together, their mom will buy it. And then follow that up on 424 is Plymouth's opening night for season points.
Hmm.
And Kankakee night 2, which I won't be at, but
I'll be getting dirty again.
Aaron, and
Hopefully, with
Dan
a little
will
less
be.
wind.
Yeah, Chris, Aaron, and Dan will be out there shooting. And then follow that up with. Is there anything on 425? Practice at
Practice at
Grundy.
Grundy. Yeah, not
Practice at
opening night.
Grundy.
Practice at
Yep,
Grundy.
correct. And then Friday, May 1st is the Min-Am Touring Series heads out to Plymouth.
Hmm. Which Scotty
For
Gardner is super excited that you won't be there to mess up his rear end again.
I will be at Kankakee for the Tom Pasick Memorial UMP Modifieds, $2,094 to win. Don't quote me on that. I think that's right, but
Well, it's the Tom Pasick Memorial. That's
yeah, I know
guaranteed.
it ends at 94, and I'm pretty sure it's 2,000. I should be better at this if I'm going to do any sort of promotion.
That's what
Saturday
we had
this
Evan on for last week.
Right. So if you want to know for sure, listen to last week's episode if you haven't already. Saturday the 2nd is the Cabin Fever season opener at Grundy County Speedway, and Shady Hills season opener with the 10th annual White Lightning Showdown. What a fun race that is! We'll get
Hmm.
we won't spoil it yet. We'll get to talking about that later, probably that week, truthfully, and then. May 3rd is our first day Plymouth with their mini wedge series. That's Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
So a lot of things coming up on the schedule already with race season here. Um, yeah, and I mean some big races too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
We're
it's
coming out
always
of the gate
fun.
hot.
Always fun to start the season off with a bang. So be sure to get out and support your local racetracks, support your local drivers, get their autographs, say hi, congratulate them, even if they put it in the wall. Like, hey, that was a
Hmm.
that's gonna be a nice Goodacre pick. you know, but yeah, and kind of touched on it earlier with the support those that support us sort of thing. So whether it's a billboard on the back stretch or a business card ad in the souvenir program, or even better, support the companies that support our racers, because
Hmm.
that's really what helps is getting those racers out there. So if it's on a bumper or fender, quarter panel, whatever, hood, support those businesses and people, the best that you can. So, be sure to get out to the racetrack and support those as well. Buy something to drink and Miller Lite. And get a hot dog or a cheeseburger, some fries.
Mm-hmm.
Make friends out there. We're all just trying to enjoy the sport the best that we can because we love it.
Yep.
So while we're thanking people, we got to thank our sponsors.
Which am us, I believe.
Us. Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. You want to do the spiel this time? I did it last week.
What spiel?
Buy your pictures from Goodacre and your T-shirts from Goodacre and your car wraps from Goodacre.
Should I Ricky Bobby it? If you don't
Absolutely.
buy from us, then
No. I don't know what to do with your hands.
Yeah,
if you don't buy from us, then what track are you actually racing at?
Sure. But yes, spend $1, man. It's
Yeah.
only
Yes.
$1.
Thank you, Cheryl. By the way, if I didn't say actual, thank you, Cheryl.
Big thank you to Cheryl. And she's not the only one. There's a few over the years that have made those comments. If you are not willing to spend $1, we do appreciate the large watermark. Free advertising for us.
And if you like free stuff, it's not totally free. We offer this cool subscription program where you can get free downloads and you don't have the ugly watermark.
That's right. Full resolution. I mean, you're paying up front, but then they're free afterwards.
Right. Yeah, they pay for themselves rather quickly. God knows we take enough pictures.
Oh, yeah. But, support Damn It Dimit on the videos. He'll be active here pretty soon. We do
Yeah, he might actually be recording videos. I know he was spreading some rock and raking some leaves the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but we do design work as well. Reach out if you need stuff done. We've lined up with a few.
Yeah, aren't you doing a T-shirt deal here for the White Lightning?
I am. I was going to get to that. But since you love to derail me, and
well, that wasn't on the list of things.
It wasn't. You're right. It wasn't. So head over to Goodacre Photography on Facebook. We've got the link up, the pre-sale up. You can find the shirt at shop.goodacrephotography.com.
You can find a whole lot of other stuff there too.
Yes, you can. And we can do it. If we can do it for the White Lightning, we can do it for you.
Yeah.
Just reach out to us. Let us know what you need. We'll get you squared away. I know one of our buddies from Marion, Iowa, from Bahama Brackets, has ordered some stuff, and I know he came back and ordered some more stuff because of how much him and his sponsors really like them. So we can help you help yourself.
Yeah.
By all things, getting water bottles,
yeah,
drinkware, flags, shirts, blankets, you name it, we make it, kind of deal. But yeah, we'll get you lined up. Come visit us, talk to us. Don't be afraid. We don't bite too hard anyway. But thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate it. We'll be on. Well, hang on. I'm gonna say you'll be on next week for sure.
Oh, I'm dragging you can do your phone thing from Florida.
Oh, okay, we'll see you next week. We'll have on the.
You can't leave me with the Starks alone.
I might just be out of service.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case.
Or shoulder deep in the Gulf of Mexico.
Somebody will be here to push the buttons.
Shoulder deep in a bucket of Miller Lite and a dozen oysters.
Yes, have you met Big Daddy? That's probably exactly what he's going for.
I'm very excited that I'll be in Florida. Anyway, so thanks for listening to us as we talk Grundy. We're going to continue our Grundy talk next week with Big Daddy John Stark and his son Trevor. We'll go into depth on Night of Thrills, figure 8 bus races, probably some monster trucks, and who knows what else. Maybe even a scooter ride with a giant TV strapped to Big Daddy. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's funny as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks again to everyone. We appreciate you. Get to the racetrack.
Get your backside trackside.
Get your backside trackside.
There you go. Yeah.
I just was trying something new.
Yeah. It works.
All right.
We'll see you at the races.
Enough of this awkward sign-off.
Are we doing this again?
Yeah. See ya. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
See you at the racetrack.